Okay, so thank you all for joining. Today is an exciting day for us. We've been working on this new version of TechWARU for about 8 months now, and today I'm finally, I guess, kind of unveiling it for you guys, showing you around, showing you the potential, answering your questions, and that's a lot of fun for us. So what I want to say beforehand is that if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the questions box, and I'll get to them as soon as I see them, or I might save them for later if they're not really on the path we're on at the moment. Anyway, thank you for joining. And what you're going to see in a second is the new TechWARU. But before that, I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of history behind this. So what I want to do first is give you a little history as to how TechWARU came about, why we decided to rewrite it, what our considerations were during that rewrite. That way you have a little bit more context for understanding why we made certain decisions. So RepairTech was started in 2011. I had been a computer repair technician as a bench tech at a shop back in my hometown of Berkeley, California. And then after that, opened up my own computer repair shop. I eventually sold that repair shop and was getting a computer engineering major at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, California. And I had the idea to automate the computer repair process while I was running my repair business, and I had been very frustrated with clicking next and finish and remove and all of that stuff that you understand because you're using TechSuite. So I had this idea. It was just an idea in a little notebook that I put in my back pocket, and I was walking the class one day, and I saw a flyer on the wall that said, "Submit your idea, win $15,000, free pizza." So I said, okay, what the hell, free pizza. So I went to this meeting, really liked what they said. It was basically kind of like a business plan contest, but more focused on innovation rather than business plan, I guess. I found a group of software developers that went to my school, and we submitted our idea. We won first place, got the $15,000, and that was kind of the seed money that we started RepairTech with. Fast forward a year and a half, we participated in an incubator, and we had TechUSB. We didn't have TechWARU, so we only had a bootable utility to automate hardware diagnostics and scan for malware. Now, we knew that we were going to need a Windows side of the whole equation because people needed to do things within Windows as well. So originally we were planning on writing that ourselves, but after participating on Technibble for a while and getting beta feedback on TechUSB from techs like you guys, we became aware of Foolish IT, Nick Shaw, who makes D7. Eventually we kind of became friendly with him and worked out a deal so that we could use the code base of D7 as a starting point for our Windows application rather than starting from scratch. That was very helpful for us at the time. It probably saved us about a year and a half of work and allowed us to launch TechSuite commercially in October of 2012. There over time were many issues exposed with starting from that code base. Mostly because it was based on Visual Basic 6 and therefore was kind of a pain to add new features to. It also resulted in, some stability issues, and the app wasn't as fast or as sexy as we would like it to be. And on top of that, we just inherited a lot of code and therefore weren't able to really imagine it the way we wanted to from the beginning. So given all of that, we kind of knew that eventually we would have to rewrite it. And what you're going to see today is essentially the reimagination of TechSuite. We took all of the feedback that you guys gave us over the last 5 years and figured out all of the things that you wish you could have, figured out how to make it faster, more stable, how to get only the best tools. We have statistics on which tools get used and which don't, so we removed the things that weren't getting used. We strengthened the things that were, and made deeper integrations for those really good tools that you guys liked, and added some more that you may not even know of. And we're really happy with the results there. We made things more automated. We made the reports more intelligent. There's so many things about this new TechWARU that are great because we were able to reimagine what it should be. One example is that we have far better control of the app from an updating perspective. So with the old TechWARU, you guys would get an update once every 2 weeks or so. And if something broke in between those 2 weeks, for example, maybe the URL of an app changed, we couldn't fix it without releasing a new version. With this, we can basically fix any one part of the app itself without doing a major release. So it allows it to be far more stable. It allows us to release things like adding new tools or removing tools without even doing anything like updating the app. So very excited about that. So without further ado, I want to show you the new application. Give me 1 second here. Let me start it up. So as you can see, this new splash screen has a custom logo in it. That could be your logo. Here we have the home screen. So in the past, and why don't I pull up the old TechWARU? That might help as well. Look at them side by side. So, the old TechWARU had what we called presets. We've changed that to be called procedures now. And we have basically taken all of the tools, consolidated them. It's far less of what you would call like a wrapper now. A lot of these applications that exist within TechWARU are now built by us rather than third parties. So a really good example might be like the networking utilities. These things that are in here are all, we didn't really write these. These are third-party applications. Whereas if you go into the tools section here and you go to network, we wrote all of these, which means that they're far more automated. We have more control over them. Well, I shouldn't say they're far more automated. They're 100% automated. We have far more control over them. We can give you better reports that are more intelligent. So that is one of the differences. These procedures are very easy to just kind of go ahead and click run. You don't have to load. You don't have to click the load thing and go and do that. You basically just select one you want. You click run. Your technician now, you don't have to download a separate executable for each technician. You just get a drop down where you select the one you want. If you used TechWARU in the past, you probably remember that there was authentication keys and things like that. We don't have those anymore. You don't have to deal with those. The executable is sent to you custom with your information already in it. Custom name and ticket number are easily accessible right here rather than having a whole page for it. It's very easy to add or edit a new procedure. If we go over to the tools page here, you can see we have a new UI that is kind of the equivalent of this, but just far easier to navigate. You have the tool description. You can know whether it's automated, what operating systems it supports. We have modes, which is a really cool thing. You guys wanted, a really good example might be malware removal. In the malware removal section, you guys would ask us, hey, can I have one preset that has only scan and not remove, and then another preset that has, scan and remove. And in TechWARU, what you had to do is go into the malware automation settings and change this. You didn't have the ability to have like different modes of running each tool for different presets. So now all you have to do is use this run mode drop down, and you can choose what you want to do, and that way you can build presets with different run modes, and it's accessible to you right there. We also have this fancy search thing. So there you go. We also have improved custom apps. So we have basically the ability to easily add your own apps, and that before was kind of hidden over here, and it was a lot harder to navigate through. It is a lot more fancy now. So that is awesome, and it should allow you to add a lot more apps a lot more quickly. There's a system tab here. This just shows basic system information about the computer. You can expect that this section will actually have a lot more work put into it. You'll be able to see a lot of other things that are pretty cool that we never could offer you in this section of TechWARU previously. So get excited for that. we have this new reports page, which is awesome. You'll see this once we actually run a procedure, but basically this allows you to view all of the reports that are on this computer. So if you've ever run TechWARU on a client's machine, you'll see all of the reports here, and then you can view them. You'll also have the ability to export them as a PDF. In the settings section, it's far less, there's far less to do. One of the things that we really like is we have a troubleshooting and a send debug log to RepairTech button set, so that you can very easily do things that we a lot of the time had to tell you to manually do. But yeah, you can see, like, I basically just gave you a tour, and it is so easy to figure out, so easy to use. Let's go ahead and run a procedure. So let's see here. This one will take too long because it has, let's just run this basic diagnostics. So I'm going to run this as me, and that's all good. Go ahead and click run here. So now we get this this screen where you can see each tool as it's running. It's a lot nicer to look at than the old screen. You can see kind of like all the different tools that are going to be run, and you can see as they go through. At the end, just like you're used to, you'll get a report. We now have a skip button, so you can skip the next tool. That's pretty cool, and we're excited about that. See here, looks like we got some questions. Are the tools from the old version in the new version, as there seems a lot less? I would say that there are some tools that we decided not to include, mostly because you guys didn't use them. And there was a common sentiment amongst our customers that getting into TechWARU was very daunting because there were so many tools and you didn't necessarily know what they were for. So there's a couple things. One, we removed the tools that nobody ever used. Two, we removed the tools that didn't, I shouldn't say didn't work right, but just weren't that effective even if people used them. So like, you guys don't necessarily know what goes on behind the hood. If we felt a tool was, it could be a lot better, we removed it. We can very, very easily add new tools into this new TechWARU as opposed to previously when it was just a lot more difficult. So if there are tools that you guys want to see added, please let us know. We can add them very easily. And when I say very easily, I mean like most of the time, like we can do it in a day. So please let us know. That being said, we did also opt to have more powerful tools as opposed to many tools. So you'll see in the malware removal section, for example, we're actually still adding a couple tools to that, but once it's done, there will be about half as many malware scanners, but they will be the best malware scanners that we can offer you guys for malware removal. So that was kind of like more, we wanted to go to the simple route, the simple and effective route. So here we have this basic diagnostics is done. We can go ahead and view this report. Oh, looks like we lost audio. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. My mic must have just disconnected from the computer. That's kind of how it goes in the computer brain industry. Anyway, so I'm assuming we're all good now. If we are, can you guys put like a little 1 in the chat box? Okay, cool. That's a lot of ones. Thank you. Okay, so looks like we are done with this basic diagnostic set. We can go ahead and click View Report. And looks like Garrett gave me a faulty version. 1 second. This is a good opportunity. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you guys actually how you even get the beta. So once you get on the beta list, I'm assuming most of you are already on the beta list. You can go ahead and go to your download section and you'll see this download beta button. If you're not on the beta list, what you can do is you can go ahead and Sorry, I'm a little distracted here. You can go ahead and email support@repairtechsolutions.com and we will get you on the list. No problem. So let me get this over here. Sorry about that. Okay, so actually on second thought, I want to run something that has cleanup because we have let's just make a new procedure. So this is what it looks like when you make a new procedure. We can check for app crashes. Let's actually check for hard drive health and blue screens, and we can make a restore point. We can see battery health, and then I want to clean something up because we added some fun stuff for that. So let's just clean up these couple things, and then we'll run that's probably good. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and click continue, and here's where you can either save it as a procedure or you can just run it. So we'll just run it. One of the things I wanted to show you is this thing called summaries, and summaries basically take all the tool results and intelligently parse through them and summarize them for you in the report. So we'll see that in just a second here. We've got a question here from Ken while I'm waiting. Will the integration with Repair Shopper be the same in this version? Yeah, actually, I think we'll probably expand on it. Maybe not immediately, but it'll certainly be the same. Yeah. Okay. So here we see the report. These are the brand new reports. They look a lot cooler. You get your logo here. You get the information about the report, some specs of the hardware. We got some fancy stuff for the hard drive capacity and file system type and all of that. Here we get insights. Insights are really cool. It's a new concept that we didn't have before. It's basically like intelligently looking at the computer regardless of what you ran to see if there are any things that as a technician you would want to know about the computer. So we detected that 30 applications crashed within the last 30 days. We also detected that drive D has very little free space. In addition to that, we have what's called procedure summaries. This is one of the things I wanted to show you. So we ran 3 different cleanup tools. We ran Clean Internet Explorer, Clean Windows Explorer, and Clean Flash. And what we did is we took the results of that and added them up to show you how much total space was freed. And that may seem like a very simple thing, but it's actually kind of crazy because it means we can do things like run 4 different malware scanners and tell you how many total malware things were found, removed, quarantined, those kinds of things. So right now there aren't that many things that you can see in the summary, but it will be expanded on as you guys basically ask us for stuff. So I believe we have 3 or 4 of them right now. There's the space freed. We have malware found. I think there's like applications updated. You probably saw here that there's a section called software where you can install applications. This also, by the way, updates the application if it's already there. So it works the same way that 99 does. So summaries are really cool. In addition to that, we have kind of what you're used to with the old TechWARU reports where you see a result for each tool. The difference is that for these tools, we're able to parse the results for you. So instead of showing you like basically just straight up the log for, you know, well, this is a tool we wrote, but like this check battery health, this is battery info view, right? So instead of showing you every single thing, we can show you just the stuff we want to show you. A really good example would be this. So the cleanup tools in the background are BleachBit. So this is the actual log that BleachBit spits out. Now what we did is we parsed this for you and pulled out just the important stuff, which is right here. That is another thing that I can't understate how cool that will be. So as we add more tools, we'll be able to make it so you can spend less time sifting through logs and more time understanding exactly what happened. So almost all of our tools have summaries in one way or another. you'll see, for example, this one just says no recent blue screens found on this machine. You don't have to worry about anything else. Before there was like kind of a table. So that is super cool. We're very excited about that. It allows us to feed things into the procedure summary and the insights. So there you go. Philip asks, can I still add my own apps? Yes, you can. All you do is go to My Apps, click New, and there we have this wizard here. So we'll call this Philip's app. And you can choose which operating systems it supports. This is a test. Click Next. And then you can choose whether it has 32 or 64-bit versions. You give it a download link, and then it'll test the download for you. When you get to the third step, it'll ask you if this tool is automatic or not. You can choose your command line parameters and where the log should be searched for. Please note that you should check out system variables. So if like the log always shows up on the desktop, that's not always the same path. So you're going to want to use, you know, a system variable like user. I don't even know if this is a real one. I forget. But like something like user profile / desktop, right? So check this out if you want to learn more about that. So yes, Philip, you can add your own apps. Let's see, we got another question here. Can I customize the colors? They don't match my logo. Yeah, actually, that is something we're going to add. It's kind of funny you say that. I think we were supposed to have that in by default. It basically changes this teal color. I think that's teal, right? Anyway, you'll be able to change that to like a bunch of different colors. Maybe not during beta, but we might do that for full launch. Sean says, I'm not on the beta list. Please repeat email and instructions to get it when you have time. Yeah, so if you just want to email, you know, the most direct way, actually, I'll put it in the chat box. Email Connor. It's Connor at repairtechsolutions.com. Let me just type that up for you guys. There you go. So if you email Connor, he can make sure you're on the list and you have access. Harry asks, when cleaning up browsers, can you control what gets cleaned, i.e. cookies, temp files, history, whatever? Yes. So that is one of the really cool things about these tool modes, which I mentioned before. So if we go to Clean Firefox and you do the drop down here, you can choose exactly what gets cleaned. That way, when you're like, so the default is all, but you can say, I only want to do this one. And then when you're making a procedure, you can go into cleanup and you can say, okay, I'm going to clean Google Chrome and I only want to clean the cache. And then I want to clean Google Chrome and I want to clear the DOM, right? So you can choose exactly what you want to do. Robert says, does it also say malware found and malware remove, and does it tell you if it couldn't delete a certain type of malware? Yeah, so we do have a summary for basically malware found for each of the individual malware scanners. You'll have to go down and see their summary to see what was removed or quarantined, because that depends on the tool settings you use. Like I mentioned before, if you like go to like Reason Core Security, they have different settings. So you are going to need to choose how you want it to be run. Yeah, okay, so let's see. We got some other questions here. Paul says, will my current presets and or procedures move over with on issues? I think you mean like when we switch over to this new version, will it be converted over? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, okay. Probably not, mostly because the tools aren't equivalent. Like, for example, in TechWARU, we have RepairTech, right? And in this new one here, we have Reason Core Security. Now, those are both based on the same technology, but the way they work is completely different. So it's not really possible for us to move those presets over, since most of the tools in there are not the same tools. Even the network tools that like might have the same name, like these are built by us now, not by someone else. So that's why like you get a really nice experience when you are running these tools. You don't have a bunch of things popping up in your face. It's all contained within this app. unless you run something that maybe like you added or is a manual tool. I don't think we're going to add any manual tools like that. But if you add something, then you might get a pop-up window of the app. But everything that we have right now is contained within this. So it's far less of a wrapper. It's a unified experience. But because of that, like presets can't really be moved over, unfortunately. We will give you like 30 days to basically move things over though. So you'll have access to both apps. Yeah, Jason says, one major issue I had with the current version is that it was very bulky, and on older machines it actually hung up on the machine before it even started. Yeah, I mean, I think that when you build an application on VB6 and then try to make it work on Windows 10, you know, it's just not going to be good at using the memory. It's not going to interact with Windows the way that a newer app would. It's not going to be as fast or as stable. So that's why we were really excited to rebuild this in a brand new programming language on a brand new framework. Yeah, as you can see, it's just far more responsive. Zach says, is it possible to rewatch this demo? Yeah, this is being recorded. We're going to send out the recording 24 hours after the webinar ends. Philip says, can I save URLs and my notes? You mean, so I'm guessing what you're saying is like the ability to add notes to a report. Is that correct, Philip? No? No? Okay. Well, I'll give you a minute to rewrite that while I answer another question. Okay, Robert says, would this give issues loading in a PE environment? You know, one of our major goals with this new TechWARU was to create something that had a far more manageable code base. PE environment requires a little bit of extra work, and we really couldn't do that with TechWARU. TechWARU did work in some cases in PEs, but it was basically not worth the effort for us for how much we'd have to do with the old code base. So this probably doesn't work yet in a PE, but once we release it, it will be very easy for us to add that functionality in, which was one of the things. Like, even if this has better functionality than the existing TechWARU, but even if it only had the same, the difference is that it's so much easier for us to build features on top of it because the code base is way cleaner and it's based on a new technology. So adding PE compatibility won't be that bad. It may actually already work in a PE, by the way, but we just haven't tested it. Harry says, is there an explanation for what tools you wrote do? What does reset Windows updates do? Yeah, so in each of the tools has a description. I would say a lot of these descriptions probably are going to be improved before we actually launch. So you asked about one tool in particular. Which one was it? It was reset Windows updates. Well, we have two tools for that. There's the Clean Windows Update Cache, which basically just Windows downloads a bunch of files in order to make it so you can install the updates, and then they basically just sit there for a while, so this cleans those out. And then if you were talking about in the network section, there is the this basically just clears out a bunch of services and files that get modified throughout the course of Windows running. It doesn't actually say exactly what it runs, but I can get that information for you. Like I said, we probably are going to improve these descriptions a little bit before we fully launch. Let's see here. We got a lot of questions. Give me a second. Okay, I tried beta yesterday, and it showed low hard drive space for the C drive, even though the drive only had 18% used. It showed it had only 18% left. Well, I would love to get a bug report on that. That is the purpose of beta. So if you can send us your bug report, that would be awesome. The easiest way to do that is to send an email to support@repairtechsolutions.com and just attach your log. Yeah, so then we can get that handled for you. Got a question from Nathan. Is the new one able to shut down antivirus? Old one crashed or was shut down if we forgot to disable an AV program. We don't have that functionality built in yet. I don't know if we'll ever be able to shut down an antivirus. That it would be if we could shut down your antivirus, I would recommend getting a new antivirus. That's all I'll say about that. And I mean, what we can do is we can probably detect if an antivirus is enabled and tell you to turn it off. That is something, again, that the old TechWARU would have had a very high difficulty for doing, and now we can do that a lot easier. So go ahead and submit that feature request, and we'll see if we can get it built for you. Philip says, oh, can I add notes like product keys? Got it. Yeah, we actually have that functionality on Tech Portal. I don't know if that's built into this new version yet, but that is something we've talked about many times, making notes. So I think that eventually you'll be able to do that. Doc says, what language is the new app written in? It's written in C#. Maybe I missed this, but Sean says, maybe I missed this, but the old TechWARU, when we update that, will the new version, this new code, replace the old so that all WARU instances will be updated? TechWARU, like the old one, has nothing to do with this new one, so you won't be able to just like convert one to the other. We may be able to make it so the update system basically downloads the new one and then erases the old one, but we haven't really like nailed down exactly how that transition will go. The worst case scenario is that you'll need to basically just download a new executable from Tech Portal, so not that big of a deal. Jim Walker says, D7 was written in VB6. You're kidding me, right? No, it was, unfortunately, I'm not. Yeah, so we were really excited to get, C# with new .NET stuff in there, because VB6 doesn't actually even really support .NET. Like, you have to use libraries in order to have .NET support. So doing things in C# is like amazing. Ken says, can you install browser extensions with my apps? I'd have to know what you mean by browser extensions. We actually already have a couple browser extensions. For example, Web of Trust for IE is a browser extension. And we have a bunch of codecs like Silverlight and Java and Shockwave Player. So if there's other apps you guys want added to this, just let us know, and we might be able to do it super easily. Otherwise, you certainly can add your own app. It has to be an executable, and you have to have a download link to it. And you can give it command line parameters and whatnot. So if you have an executable that installs a browser extension, then that should work fine. Jason says, I'm sorry I had a quick power outage, so I had to restart the meeting. I caught a bit about the programming language and efficiency. Was that the answer to my question? No need to repeat everything you said. I just want to watch the recording. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't remember which one was your question, but yeah, we're using C# for this new version. What will the pricing be after you go live with any changes, asks Richard. We're not planning on making any immediate pricing model changes, and we're not planning on actually like changing. So like the only change we may do for the pricing model is rather than charging per user, charging per concurrent session. where that hasn't been finalized, and in that case, I don't think we'd actually change the prices. Basically, we noticed that people add more users if we like give them away, and we want your technicians to use the software, but there has to be like some kind of limiting factor if you're like a way bigger organization than, you know, like a one-man shop, right? So one of the things that we've been thinking about is changing it so that the limitation, rather than being user accounts, is how many computers you fix at the same time or simultaneously. You know, like a one-man shop pretty much is only fixing one computer or two computers at a time, whereas a larger organization is probably fixing 5. So that limitation might be like a more like real way to do it, and in that case, you know, again, that hasn't been finalized, but it's something we're thinking about. In that case, I don't think the prices are actually going to change, though. So likely you won't even really notice the difference. Okay. Paul asks, will it be possible to whitelist certain processes if a tool like rkill is ran? There's no tools that we made that would require a whitelist. That's an interesting question. I guess I don't have an immediate answer to it. Like we are, for example, we're going to be making a new tool for Registry Investigator. That's like the virus doctors tool. That tool may have like something like a whitelist, but it mostly deals with the registry, so it's not as applicable. Yeah, I would say like there isn't too much to whitelist. But if we do come out with something applicable, we'll certainly get that. Jeff says, with the old TechWARU, updating third-party apps kept getting flagged by my AV. Is this going to continue to be an issue? You won't have to, I don't think you'll have to update third-party apps anymore. We take care of that for you now. So I don't even think that functionality is going to be in there. So no, it won't be an issue. Joel asks, can the new version be run completely from a USB key or a read-only network drive? Yes, it can be run from a USB drive or a desktop or wherever you want. The issue with running it from a read-only drive is that it can't generate reports when you, or download apps if you run it from a read-only drive, which kind of defeats the purpose of it in the first place. So you really can't run it just based on like the fact that it needs to generate a report. You can't really run it from a read-only drive. Ken says, looking for Web of Trust for Chrome. Yeah, we don't have that yet. We have Web of Trust for IE. I'll look and see how hard it is for us to add Web of Trust for Chrome, and we can hopefully add that in. Jason says, can you give us a little bit of insight on how the new version will integrate with Kabuto, or will Kabuto also be facelifted in the near future? Yeah, so that's a two-part question. I'll start with the second part. Kabuto is getting a facelift on the client side. So right now, you're seeing the other screen I have. Let me see if I can. Okay, I'll drag this over. Okay, so this is like the Kabuto interface right now. This part is getting a facelift. So we've actually, it's been planned for a long time. There's been a new UI that we've designed and ran by you guys and vetted, and it's going to be implemented, I think, in the next version. So yes, it will have a facelift. The first part of your question, though, was can you give us a bit of insight on how the new version will integrate with Kabuto? Yes. So this is like long run. I'm giving you guys kind of the vision of the future. It's not necessarily something you should expect like right now. But we have TechSuite, which in a lot of ways is now like kind of a fully automated tool for performing tasks, right? Tasks in general come into 3 buckets. Tasks for maintenance, so that might be like cleanup or updates. Tasks for like putting out a fire, that might be like malware removal or something is broken. And then like specialty stuff, which is probably only like 5 or 10% of the tasks that are run, right? Specialty stuff might be like adding an extension to Microsoft Office or something like that, right? So TechSuite can basically deal with the first 2, and that's about 90-95% of the tasks that you guys need to run. We also, I didn't mention this, TechSuite, this new one, works really well from the command line. We actually first designed it from the command line and then added a user interface on top of that. So you can run it really well and do everything you can do from the UI from the command line. So that allows us to basically add into Kabuto, where you can now monitor a computer, the ability to run those tasks via TechSuite. So that's kind of the long run, like how this will work out. Exactly what that'll look like in terms of user interface or any of that, I'm not 100% sure. It hasn't been clearly planned yet. So I would say that you should see in Kabuto's online dashboard the ability to perform a lot of the tasks that TechSuite can perform and take advantage of things like being able to add your own apps into it and things like that. So I hope that answers your question and gives you some insight. Got another question here from Paul. I'm thinking I do a job remotely at the moment. It kills Screen Connect or TeamViewer. Yeah, you mean like the existing TechWARU does? Yeah, I'm guessing that rkill is the one that's doing that. There's a couple other apps in the existing TechWARU that kill processes too. The new malware tools that we have in here are far less likely to do that, I would say, with the exception of rkill. Like rkill is kind of meant to do that. So if you're going to be, well, I shouldn't say meant to kill remote sessions, but it's certainly meant to kill unnecessary processes, and it views remote sessions as an unnecessary process. So if you're going to be in a remote session, I would just recommend running all the other tools other than rkill. Jeff says, any ETA on go live? By go live, I assume you mean like the full launch of this new TechSuite. Is that correct? Yeah, okay. Well, we've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys already, and thankfully, nothing big has emerged. I mean, there's some little things that are bugs, but totally fixable and fast. So we do have some more tools we want to add in. We're waiting on some stuff from some other software vendors, so we're trying to add another malware section in, another malware tool in here, and once we have that, we'll feel really good about this combination of tools. We want to add some more things into the software section, and there's some other like small UI things that we're going to change. So one of the things we don't like is that, you know, in this cleanup section, for example, you'll see that these are all like clean Firefox, for example, but these are actually just the same tool but with different modes. So you can't really see that right now. So we're going to add like maybe in parentheses or maybe with a hyphen or something, like the ability to see what mode that tool is being run in. So it's like all small stuff like that that's kind of inconsequential and just about user experience. There isn't really anything all that dramatic that we need to do. Now, in addition to that, one thing that I haven't brought up yet is we are also going to be releasing a new version of TechUSB. And that has been a long time coming. We have basically made it, the improvement is mostly on the operating system side. We've switched the operating system to a newer one, and it has we've kind of finagled it to have UEFI support as well as BIOS support. So now you'll be able to boot it on Windows 10 computers, no problem, without having to go and change your secure boot and all of those settings in the UEFI menu. So that is awesome. We're really excited about that. It'll also have far more compatibility, so it'll have more drivers for newer like video cards and machines. So that'll be great. You'll see a higher compatibility rate. Right now, it's not the best for like Windows 10 computers and Windows 8.1 and 8 computers. So we're excited to get you guys a far more robust operating system that does support those things. Cool. Any other questions, guys? You guys have been really good on the questions today. Okay, another question here from Alan. Can TechWARU be set up to do a cleanup automatically, say once a week? Yeah, it can. It requires a little bit of manual work from you, but like I mentioned before, it has really good command line parameters. So what you can do is you can go in, let me show you. You can go in the task scheduler. If you leave TechWARU on the machine, you can make a new task and basically just run TechWARU with the command line params that you want it to do. So you basically what you would do is you would make a procedure, maybe one called like cleanup, right? And you basically just run that procedure via the command line once a week or whatever you want it to be. And it'll automatically upload that report for you so you can see it. Sean says, the download link that is for the app for the iPhone is not working. When logged into your account, it shows as items not available in current. Got it. Yeah, so we actually rescinded the iPhone app from the App Store. There were a couple reasons for that. Number one, it wasn't getting enough attention, and we didn't want it to fall so far behind that it didn't work anymore. So we actually pulled it, and it's interesting that there's still a link for it. That shouldn't be there. We're going to focus on making TechPortal responsive rather than making an app. It's just a more scalable way to do things, and it requires less upkeep from us. Having an iPhone app and an Android app in addition to having to make changes on TechPortal is like more work than you might think, and it's not actually like a good use of time. And frankly, you get less functionality too, because with the iPhone app, we would have to basically rebuild TechPortal, right? And it's a lot easier for us to just make it responsive so that you can do exactly the same stuff. Miguel says, you said in 24 hours this webinar will post on YouTube. Yeah, it's going to be sent in an email to you. It'll be like an email that says, like, thanks for attending the webinar. And in there will be a little button that says watch recording. In addition to that, it will also be on YouTube. Harry says, if you leave TechWARU on the machine, how do you keep customers from running it? Great question. There's a settings section here, and you can set a password. And then, so that's set there, and I can then close this, and let me open it up again, show you what it looks like. Well, the window's on my other monitor, but it basically looks like that. So it says password prompt, enter password. And then I just type the word password, and then it lets us in. So that way you can keep it on there. You know what? It's not 100% foolproof. I mean, you can, if you go into your into the folder and you take a look at it, like the tools are still there. So like they can go and like navigate through here and kind of find stuff, but it's at least like, some barrier. Nathan says, can you show an example of running from command line? So the version, there's a special command line version that doesn't have a user interface. So when we actually launch fully, there will be two separate downloads. There will be like a command line version and a normal version. So I don't actually have that on my machine at the moment. It'll be going out probably as a part of the beta soon. We haven't actually like released it yet. Ken says, will we be able to uninstall programs such as iTunes? Uninstalling, that's an interesting... Not yet. I mean, I actually don't think we've ever discussed that. So currently that's not a tool, but that's a really good idea, and it is something that we could potentially build. Sean says, can you provide us with a command line reference chart with all parameters we can put in place, possibly with some examples? Yeah, there will be documentation that we will provide you once we give you the command line version. It basically allows you to, I'll just like give you a high level. It allows you to list all of the procedures that are currently available to you, list all the tools that are currently available to you. You can run each of those respective things. So you can run like a procedure by just typing in the name. You can run a specific tool or a list of tools. Once it's done, it'll like give you a report. It has like a help dialog, so we don't even necessarily need to give you much other than if you just type like -H, it'll show you all the things you can do. But yes, we certainly will have really good documentation for it. Let's see here. Wendy says, it looks like a much easier tool to use, especially for one-person shops that may not use it as often. Well done. Yeah, thanks, Wendy. That was kind of the intention. You know, a lot of the time techs they ask for things to be more configurable, but we've like experienced over time that people don't actually want it more configurable. Most of the time they want it more configurable because they don't think it's working correctly. And if we can make it work correctly, then they actually want it to be really simple. So we have revamped all the code base and redone it and everything, and because of that, it works. And because we wrote the tools rather than using third-party tools, they work. And so we have the freedom to make the user interface very simple, and we're very happy about that. Jason says, you mentioned an advance on the repair shopper integration. Yeah, I think that well, we're launching a Kabuto integration. We already have a Kabuto integration with Repair Shopper, but it's actually going to be, we're launching like a V2 of that shortly. And then TechSuite will probably get some improved functionality as well. I'm not exactly sure what yet. Rob says, do you recommend we run from desktop or from a network drive for networked PCs? It's up to you. I would say that like from a stability perspective, it should work regardless. But I will tell you that we test far more heavily from both like it being on a USB drive and it being on the desktop. Like those are our primary, like we test the hell out of it in those two scenarios. Much less so on network drives. That being said, if anybody ever reports that there's an issue from a network drive, we fix it, so it should work fine. There shouldn't be an issue using it from a network drive. So I would say it doesn't matter like what I recommend. You should just do what's convenient for you. Okay. Yeah, it looks like you guys all want uninstalling. If you tell us, so there's a couple ways to go about that. So if you go into like control panel here, don't worry, I'm not showing you something that's super obvious. If you go into uninstall a program, one of the things they don't show you, let's see here, they don't even have it in this list. So each of these apps actually has like another parameter that we have access to, and it's called the uninstall string. And that is basically a command line parameter that you can run to silently uninstall that app, right? Not all the apps have it. I would say it's probably like 1 out of 4. But a lot of the really popular apps do have it. So one of the things we could do is we could make a tool that like uninstalls an app by giving you a list of apps you can uninstall. and then you select the one, like it could be like maybe in the tool mode or something like that. You could like pick the app you want to uninstall, and then it will uninstall it for you. Another way to do that is to, I guess we could have a software section that like uninstalls. We could have an uninstall one for tons of stuff, but that isn't necessarily scalable because people will ask for tons of apps. So I'm not really sure. There could be a manual tool that like basically pops up a window with a bunch of apps you can uninstall. You check them all, and then you click run. The problem is that's not automated. We like automated stuff. So I don't know. I mean, we'll have to do some more research and talk to you guys more in depth to understand exactly what the best thing to do is. Richard says, can you reactivate my account for 10 days so I can try the new version and get away from D7.2? I have been waiting for this update. Yeah, so if you don't currently have an active account, just let us know and we'll make sure that you're able to test and evaluate this new version. I will warn you though, like it is still in beta. So expect that like there might be some small quirks. Now that being said, like this beta since we launched it has gone very smoothly. Much more smoothly than any other beta we've ever done. So it's pretty good, but just understand that there's a lot of things that we probably will be adding because of feedback and things that we'll be fixing because they're found. So yeah, but go ahead and email us at support@repairtechsolutions.com and we can make sure that you have like a trial on your account or something so that you can try things out. Okay. Question from Ken. US Cert recommends the removal of QuickTime for Windows. Card created 3 months ago. Importance high if you have Apple QuickTime. Oh, right. Got it. Yeah. So QuickTime, we can certainly like help you remove. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we just have to know that that's a feature you guys want, and then we can make it happen. Let's see. If I missed any of your guys' questions, just like repost them or something, and I'll get to them. There have been so many that I think like I might have skipped some. Yeah, Sean recommended PC decrapifier for uninstalling. I can take a look at that. In the past, when I've looked, their end user license agreement has not been favorable. So I may have to like, I'll probably have to get in touch with them and like see if a relationship that is more in depth, like the one we have with like Reason Core Security or a Road Killer or anything like that, like we'll maybe have to develop one of those. Yeah, I'll check that out, Sean. Any other questions, guys? We have a question about mHelpDesk from Jason. He says, there's also an integration with mHelpDesk that I currently use. Will there be any new features or better integrations with that? We don't have any planned. If you have any suggestions for improvements on that end, we're certainly open to them. So just send them over to us. Doc says, are you using MCsoft at all? We may at some point add the MCsoft command line tool into this. There were some like technical things that weren't the best for TechSuite that weren't issues for Kabuto. One of them is that their command line solution is 200 megabytes, and that's not really ideal for a portable app. That's not an issue with Kabuto because you just install it, right? But there were some things, and to be honest, like we have so many good scanners that we're adding that at a certain point it's kind of redundant. I think when we were earlier in the stage of our industry, you didn't trust just one scanner. You didn't trust really 3 scanners. You would run like 4 scanners to try to clear a computer out, right? And that was just what you felt you had to do. Now, the way that these scanners work is very redundant, and they all have each other's definitions, and you really actually don't need as many scanners as you used to. So we just focused on getting really good ones that are specific to malware removal rather than prevention. And I think that's another thing that people don't often think about, that, you know, they like certain solutions that like are for prevention, but they're not actually that good for removal. So we're adding one more scanner for sure into this section, and then we'll evaluate from there, but we think we'll be pretty happy with it. Okay, Philip says, how long does it take to get on the beta? Shouldn't take long. As long as you're on the list, Connor can give you access in like a minute. So shouldn't be a big deal. Ed says, just an FYI, Night does uninstall as well as install. Maybe look at how they do it. Yeah, I think I know how they do it actually. It's they basically, I think, do it custom for each app. Which we certainly can do. We're not opposed to, but it's just a lot more work as opposed to coming up with like a generic solution that works for all apps. So we're just trying to, you know, weigh our options and see what's the most wise to implement. Sean says, password for TechWARU should be set by default to ensure security for any systems left with the tool, but with the ability to reset. I believe, you know, I could be wrong. Don't hold me to this, but I believe once you set a password here, it syncs to all your other apps. I'm not sure about that though, so I'll need to double check. That may already be the case, is what I'm saying, Sean. Kyle says, what happened to ADW Cleaner? We didn't like it very much. That's what happened. I don't know what else to tell you. I think it's a really popular tool from a text perspective, but like when you have the opportunity to look at as many malware scanners as we do, like there's a lot of like little things that we don't like about ADW Cleaner that like don't have anything to do with its actual removal. The way that it updates and the way that it scans and the way that it kills processes is just kind of undeveloped and not ideal for an automated solution. So we decided to get rid of it because we really don't need it. With the tools we're going to have in here, it's going to be perfectly fine for removing anything that's removable. Jeff says, have y'all come up with a remote control solution for Kabuto? Not yet. You know, that's coming up as like kind of a I would say that's been in the back of our minds. We have a goal for when we want to have that solved, but it's not right now. We're working on Windows updates, and we're working on a couple other things that are not related to the control. We have to actually release fast syncing in Kabuto before we can work on a remote session solution. So our hands are tied anyway for a little bit. Once fast syncing is done, then you'll be able to use any existing remote session solution and instantly have unattended access. And that will nullify a lot of the requests for our own remote session solution. That being said, we recognize people want to get all their stuff in one place, and I think some of the remote session solutions that are out there are just ridiculously overpriced. So we certainly are taking it very seriously and looking into it. But there are some priorities beforehand that need to be taken care of before we can even consider making one. So that's kind of where we're at with it. Philip says, what about junkware removal tool? I don't remember why that's not in there. I'll have to check. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. So I'll have to look into that and get back to you. Richard says, what is the scanner? I can't say yet because I had to sign an NDA. But I can tell you that it is a scanner that you may not have ever heard of. and it's super powerful and uses like a ton of different engines and definitions compiled together. It's something that we don't have in TechWARU. So, and they're fairly new. So but I can't say yet. Anyway, unless there's any other questions, no, it's not Hitman Pro. I like it a lot more than Hitman Pro actually. But Sean says, all said, this is downright solid. I've been testing it. I can see myself using this regularly. Unlike the old TechWARU, this works and is intuitive. Thanks, Ian and team. Yeah, no problem. That's exactly why we wanted to do this. So I appreciate the feedback. That's what makes it all worth it. And let us know if you encounter anything or you want access or you have any feature requests. That is the whole point of beta. We want to know that stuff, so send it on over and we'll get stuff done for you. That being said, I think we're going to call it a day. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me a chat. I will put my email address in the chat box there. It's ian@repairtechsolutions.com. I'm happy to talk. Just feel free to shoot me an email. And thank you, everybody, for your time. And I will talk to you soon.